This is Glock G28, first range report. It was a beautiful spring day at Banner Range today, and I think just about every lane was full, which means there's quite a bit of background noise to contend with. And now, let's hit the range! Alright, we're out at the beautiful Banner Range here today. We're going to be taking a look at a new to the US market firearm, the Glock G28. Now, the weather's fantastic today, so I don't need gloves. Being honest, the reason I'm wearing my gloves is I'm not wild about, I think it's Gen 3 texture on this G28 frame. So we're going to wear our gloves. That's for me. So anyway, here we go. Let's try it out. First magazine here through the firearm. This is Federal Range Target 95 grain ammo. Shoot at the bottom left target. Up to 10 shots.
Right on the side.
Okay. So if I'm being honest, I was curious if the first 10 would cycle. The recoil setting on this feels in my, he just went off feels is like a scientific measurement. It feels like a 9mm recoil spring. So you would wonder, this 380 got the oomph to cycle it, and it does. Let's do another magazine, same target. Okay, that's definitely not on par with the firearm we're going to compare it to later in the video. That was definitely, took some effort to work the slide with a full magazine beneath it. Okay, failure to feed, to eject. We'll have to grab that one. That's a good round. Here we go. Put that one in. I'm going to aim for the little red circle to the right of our target.
This lane's open, brother.
Looks like a failure to the right. Okay, so we had one failure there. Realistically, during the break-in period, I'm not going to freak out about the occasional failure.
This one's got some steel, but it's not like this one. It's just like smaller.
Anyway, let me reload our mags here, and then we'll do the top left target here. We're going to shoot at the top left target now. The first magazine is going to be the last of our Federal Range Target 95 grain ammo. The second magazine is some Remington UMC 95 grain FMG. Here we go. Alright, now let's try that Remington 95 grain Full Metal Jacket, the UMC ammo.
Then up on your casing, Yep. Dad. Yeah.
Okay. So far, one annoying thing you might notice on point of view cam, seems like it likes to throw brass in your face. The Glock G28 is a subcompact pistol chambered in .380 ACP. It is a double-stack magazine-fed pistol that comes with two 10-round magazines. On the international market, Glock has 12, 15, and 17-round magazines available as well. It was introduced internationally in 1997 and commercially in the United States this year, 2023. The firearm is 6.5 inches long, 4.17 inches high, 1.26 inches wide, and weighs in at 20.64 ounces. Other than weight, in terms of external dimensions, it's identical in size to something like the G26, which is the 9mm subcompact double-stack Glock firearm. While the firearm does not have an external safety, it does have Glock's famous safe action trigger that you can see here. On the left side of the frame, there is also the slide release, the takedown lever, and a very low profile magazine release. I think that magazine release, in my opinion, is actually a little smaller than what I would prefer. I wish it had the Gen 5 mag release, which we'll come back to later in this video. At the rear of the slide, there are slide serrations that I'm going to call the Glock style slide serrations. I do wish they were a little more aggressive in their texture. To me, they almost are not slide serrations. They're so minimal. At the front of the slide and frame, there are neither front slide serrations, that if you watch the channel you know I'm a big fan of, and there's not a rail that some people will be a fan of as far as an attachment point. Probably a 26-year-old design thing if you think about it. The sights on the firearm are what I'm going to call your traditional box and dot Glock sights. They work. I mean, they're adequate. They're not my favorite sights. If I didn't have to worry about YouTube demonetizing my video, I would have already replaced those sights with something like, I don't know, True Glow tritium sights like my G42 has. But that's a story for another video. Moving on. For cleaning and maintenance, the G28 breaks down just the same as the other Glocks in fashion. As you can see here, it broken down as far as I would ever break it down to clean it. I do wonder, looking at it broken down, if eventually, hopefully, we will see a drop-in G26 barrel that we can just drop in there. Because that recoil spring, in my feels like, not a scientific measurement, feels like a G26 recoil spring. Another feature that I'm going to say is polarizing on this G28 is going to be in the grip. It has those polarizing finger nubs. You either love them or you hate them. I am not a big fan of them. It also has what I believe is the Glock Gen 3 texture on it, which, as you heard at the beginning of the video, I'm also not a fan of. Before you say, yeah, but your favorite 380, the G42, has that finger nub hoe grip on it, ha ha ha. Single nub, not double nub, and it's rubber, much more comfortable. Moving on. Now before we get into our conclusion talking points, let's head back to the range and take a look at the G28 against what I'm going to consider a 2020s design for the modern consumer compact double stack 380, the Ruger Security 380. Now we're going to take a brief discussion. We'll do a longer comparison video in the future. This is just going to be a quick snapshot, if you will. Holding the G28 reminds me a lot of the G26 and why I mean, it was a fine gun, worked perfectly reliably. I didn't like it. We'll be blunt about it. In the hand, I would say the G28 is similar. I don't like it. The reason what I kept over it was actually my Ruger Security, Ruger SR9C, which To me, the Security 380 is like the newer version of the Secure SR platform, and if you could have got an SR 380, this would have probably been it. So I thought it was only right that we start off the comparison with the G28 against basically what did in the G26. So anyway, targets on the left will be the Glock G28 targets. Targets on the right will be the Ruger SR Security 380 targets. We're going to do 2 magazines. With one of our Security 380 magazines, it can hold 15. I only have 10 in it. Make the math easy. So here we go. We'll start with our G28 on the left-hand targets. First mag will be the bottom target. Second mag will be the top target. 20 shots or less. Here we go. Like this UMC ammo, it shoots left. Very unspectacular accuracy so far with the Remington UMC ammo. Top target now. Well, on the bright side, we had good reliability. But accuracy, I would say, with that ammo, unspectacular. Let's see how our Security 380 compares in the hand. I think this might actually be the Federal range target ammo. These are range ammo. So I guess I knocked the staple out on that one. Okay, so this will be on the right side targets. We're going to shoot the bottom target first. The first magazine, top target with the second magazine. Make sure our safety's off. Okay, so far, Security 380, putting some prettier holes on paper, I would say. Let's see if the top target looks as good. Now this is the longer 15 round magazine, so here we go. Only 10's loaded though. Okay, one thing, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, that the Security 380 definitely has going for it is, in these light conditions, this fiber optic front sight is incredibly easy to see and pick up, and it looks fantastic against those targets we have out there. So it was very easy in that regard. Now you heard me tell a little story at the beginning of that range clip about how the SR9C for me won out over the G26. I'm not trying to say the Ruger is a better firearm than the Glock. In fact, in my opinion and in my experience, I spent a year firing both firearms as well as my CC Rammy side by side every weekend, doing the same ammo, the same targets, everything. 100% reliable. I would say comparable accuracy, but I actually had better accuracy with the CZ, which is why I didn't bring it up. At the end of the year, we were moving on and we were going to do 1911s the next year, and it was like, well, I want to, invest in a 1911. I need to get rid of something. What's it going to come down to? And what it came down to me was the Ruger SR9C just was more comfortable in the hand than the G26 was for me. And since everything performed the same, and the G26 at that point was probably the least likely of the three to be used by me, it got sent walking and traded for a 1911. Now, the reason I tell that story is I personally find it interesting that what I consider Ruger's SR380, shortly after they release it, Glock then comes out with their G28 here in the US to try to be maybe a limited competitor, depending on, limited release, quote unquote, depending on where you read. Had it retained the striker-fired mechanism of the SR series, one could easily argue that the Security 380 is Ruger's attempt to brainstorm how would you make the G28 better. If you look at it, a little longer in the grip with pinky support. It's narrower, slightly narrower, easier to hold, easier to work the slide, high visibility sights. It has the front rail if you want an attachment on it. Higher capacity, can support a 15-round magazine in almost the same space as the 10-round magazine. And they could probably even go higher than that if they wanted to. So if you look at it, there's a lot of things where it's like, this is a G28 2020 inspired. Hopefully, in the near future, Glock makes available in the U.S. market the 12, 15, and 17-round double-stack 380 mags for the G28 like are available on the international market. It would also be nice, in my opinion, if we had a Gen 5 update at least to the G28, but we'll come back to that later. Now let's take a moment here to look at some home defense, personal protection, concealed carry ammunition. I have 6 different types of ammunition that we're going to test real quick through this G28 here today. And the reason for that is, in the limited reviews available for the US version of this firearm, one question is it reliable with range ammo, home defense ammo, etc.? Because some people say it is, some people don't. Let's find out for ourselves and see how reliable this firearm is in that regard, at least the one that we have. Okay, what we're going to do now is we are going to test. I brought along 6 different kinds of home defense, personal protection, concealed carry ammunition. I have 4 full boxes and then 2 partial boxes. We're going to test it all out here and see how all of it works, sort of reliability and accuracy wise, out of our G28. I'm going to start with the one that's probably going to be lowest on everybody's list. I don't know why. The Fort Scott Munitions 380 ACP Tumble Upon Impact 95 grain ammunition. We're going to do 2 10-round magazines, shooting at the bottom target here. Now, from what I recall in the past, chronographing this ammunition, it didn't exactly have what I would say was spectacular velocity, but let's see how it goes. Here we go. I should say spectacular velocity. I think I actually got pretty good accuracy out of the LCP Max when we tried it. So anyway, here we go, 20 shots, bottom target. Okay, maybe tendency to shoot a little low. Let's do our next 10 here. Okay, so Fort Scott TUI 95 grain. One group might be okay, one group might be a little low, but 100% reliability. Let's reload. We'll try our next one. Okay, spring finally has happened, slightly, so got warm, took the jacket off. Same day. Next animal we're going to try, I think, is probably not at the top of people's lists again, but it's one I've always had good reliability, good accuracy with. Though when we meat target tested it, we got no evidence of hollow point expansion, which was unfortunate. This is the Sierra Outdoor Master 90 grain jacketed hollow point. We're going to shoot at the top target here, 20 rounds, G28, here we go. I'd say so far, it looks like I have a tendency to shoot this G28 a little low left. And at the end of the video, I will talk about why I suspect that is. Okay, so we'll catch it up a little better on our second magazine. Let's reload and we'll try one more here. Okay, this is the second to last of our full boxes of home defense concealed carry personal protection ammunitions we're going to be trying today. I'm going to be shooting at our top left hand Dirty Bird splatter target. This is Remington Ultimate Defense 380, which has 102 grain Golden Saber. I think that's brass jacketed hollow point. That's what that means. Okay, so let's give this a shot here. This is the heaviest projectile of any of the ammo that we're shooting here today. One more. And a failure. Failure to eject. I would say not a very impressive group. One failure. Okay, we're down to our last full box of home defense ammo here. This is probably my favorite 380, the Hornady Critical Defense 90 grain FTX. Kind of like a ballistics tip, they say. Alright, so let's do 20 shots at our right hand target that the wind is trying to add a little challenge to by occasionally fluttering because the staple fell out. So, here we go, 20 shots at the center of that target that is trying to blow away. Here we go. Okay, so far that might be the best magazine accuracy-wise through our G28 today. Let's see if we can follow it up with another good one. Ooh, failure. Alright, range went cold on us partway through that magazine here. Let's see if we can finish it out. This is the last, I think it's 9 of our Hornady Critical Defense. I think it is. 9, hopefully. Something like that. We'll find out, I guess. Here we go. 9 or less. Failure. Apparently it does not like critical defense.
Emotional damage.
That's weird. Let's try this again. We were going really good there too for a while today.
A few moments later.
Let's try some other ammo real quick. Let's go back to this Remington UMC that we know worked. I'm going to try 5 shots. I'm going to aim at the bottom right of that target we're aiming at. Well, we put all 5 where we wanted. Cycled just fine. Which to me says ammo. I think I have 3 of these critical defenses left. Okay, So I think what's happening is, and you can kind of actually feel this when you shoot. Is all the ammo that we've fired today, which probably explains why it was the best accuracy for me. This critical defense has by far the most amount of recoil. So I think what's happening is it's not generating enough oomph to reliably kick the brass out, which is kind of disappointing because that's my favorite ammo.
Emotional damage.
Let's do 5 more of the Remington UMC just to make sure. Without gloves on, I could shoot this thing pretty good apparently. Okay, for our final 2 magazines today, we'll do our partial boxes. I have 10 rounds of the Norma 380. We have 10 rounds of SIG Elite Performance. First 10 we're going to do is the Norma, I think this is 85 grain, monolithic hollow point they call it. We're going to shoot the bottom right target. This probably the lightest weight projectile we're shooting here today. Here we go, 10 or less. Questionable accuracy, but all 10 cycled. Now we're going to do the SIG Elite Performance. This is 90 grain V-crown jacket hollow point, shooting at the top target here, 10 shots. Oops, that was me. Okay, 10 shots. Meh on the grouping, but probably good enough for concealed carry at this range. I got 5 critical defense left. Let's just put that in. And if it doesn't cycle, it confirms our suspicion about if I can use my favorite ammo out of this Glock G28. Last 5 shots or less of the day. If it jams, that's it. Here we go. I'm going to shoot at the top target. And we're done. We have arrived at the conclusion to today's video. If you ask me to describe the first range experience of shooting the Glock G28 in a way most people watching this video could relate to, I do so as follows. Remember the first time you found your dad's Playboys and were disappointed to find out there were only 3 pages of dirty pictures. Calling them dirty feels like a stretch when the Sports Illustrated calendar on your wall wasn't much different. The G28 feels like that to me. It's a functional firearm, but now in 2023, it leaves you disappointed, in my opinion. I find the G28 feels unnecessarily bloated in the hands. The finger nubs and Gen 3 texture I find to be uncomfortable. Combine that with the short 10-round magazine that leaves absolutely no room for a pinky, and you're left with what feels like a unsteady grip. One thing easily seen in the video today is the slightly longer grip plus pinky extension the Security 380 has allows me to get a much more comfortable grip. Combine that with various slide lightening and spring changes 20 plus years of technology have afforded Ruger, and you end up with a firearm that has less recoil with a slide that is much easier to articulate. On the flip side, one thing the Glock will likely always have going for it is customization. It is likely that at some point the third-party Glock customization market will have everything you can imagine out there in the United States to Gucci your G28. Other than things like the 1022, the Mark series, and maybe the PCC, most Rugers don't get that same aftermarket treatment. To most, that won't matter, but to some it will. Other than reading the initial marketing material saying the G28 was now out in the US, I have avoided other reviews. Since firing mine and then reading some, one thing I can confirm is the G28 does appear to have somewhat of a pressure sensitivity. On the bright side, all of the range ammo and the majority of the home defense concealed carry personal protection ammo tested today worked, I'm going to consider without issue during the break-in period for this firearm. We did see a couple failures I'm considering break-in related, but we also saw at least one ammo that it appears my G28 does not like. It happens to be my favorite ammo, Hornady Critical Defense. But everything else we tried today worked well enough for a day one range session. The firearm has what I'm considering the standard serviceable Glock trigger. It weighs in around 5.5 pounds. I consider it serviceable for a protection firearm and had no complaints in that regard. The firearm does feel heavy and fat to me. Normally I'd say here the heavy helps with the recoil, but I didn't find that to be the case here. For as heavy as the G28 is, I didn't find it helped it absorb recoil as traditionally happens with the 380. I think a lot of that has to do with the 2-finger grip and lack of pinky support for me. Being a mild 380, I was still able to shoot the firearm what I consider well enough for a day one range session, but at the same time, I'd certainly say it was not comfortable 380 I was expecting. Another mentionable is I found the magazines to be extremely hard to load the 10th round into. Good thing Glock included that helper. Hopefully, with time, that spring will loosen up. Same goes for the recoil spring. As I said, by my not scientific feels like measurement, that feels like a standard G26 9mm recoil spring. Right now, mine doesn't like the Hornady Critical Defense, which I didn't expect to be what appears to be the lowest pressure generating ammo of what we shot here today. Hopefully, once it gets broken in, this G28 will cycle all 380 ammo well. I got it hoping it could be a bell cow running back 380 in the stable for our 380 comparison series. Some people think it's a limited run collector's item. I'm not one of those people. I think it's more a market gauge for Glock. Is it worth their time updating the 380 offerings to the latest gen for the US market? I think that's the question this G28 they're trying to answer in the US market today. As far as this Gen 3 G28 goes, honest opinion so far, I think you're better off going with something like the G42. While you have a slightly decreased capacity, I think the G42 is actually more mild to shoot and feels more like a 380. I'm not sure why yet, but this G28 feels more like a G26 when firing than it does a G42, which I found unexpected. Maybe that is going to change as it gets broken in. I'm not so sure. Another important thing we saw on day 1 is the importance of ammo. While it appears so far the G28 works with most ammo, there is certainly ammo out there it is not a fan of. And at least for my G28, that ammo is what I least expected. This is why it is important you verify your carry firearm works with your carry ammo, and why that verification should be more than a handful of rounds or a single magazine. As we saw in today's video, I was able to shoot one magazine of critical defense without issue, and then the rails fail off. I'm not going to hold the failures we saw today with this G28 against it while it's in the breaking in period, but soon it will be past that. Hopefully by then, this Glock will be reliable with all ammo I can find for it. Are you looking forward to finding out as much as we are? If so, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can follow along with this G28's performance in our ongoing 380 comparison series. Hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.
And I hit dingers.